You have been wanting it for years, working for it for years, pushing for it for years, and it is still not there. The problem is not your effort. The problem is this: the universe does not respond to force, it responds to resonance. And the difference between those two things explains why some people get everything they are after, and most people never do. Let me start with something that is not philosophy. It is physics. When two objects share the same frequency, energy flows between them without resistance. No pushing required, no force applied. The transfer happens naturally, automatically, as a direct consequence of alignment. This is called resonance. You have seen it. Strike a tuning fork and hold it near another tuning fork of the same frequency. The second one begins to vibrate on its own. Nothing touched it. Nothing forced it. The frequency did the work. Now here is the question nobody asks when they talk about wanting things, building things, attracting things into their life. What if the same law applies? What if the reason most people spend decades pushing towards something without reaching it is not a failure of effort, but a failure of frequency? Think carefully about how most people pursue what they want. They identify a goal. They work toward it. They apply force, discipline, persistence. All of this sounds correct. All of this is what every system of achievement ever designed has told you to do. And yet most people who follow this formula exactly, who show up, who push, who persist, still end the decade in roughly the same place they started. Not because they failed, because they were pushing. And pushing is the wrong mechanism. Here is what I mean. Force assumes separation. When you push toward something, you are confirming, at the level of your entire operating system, that the thing you want is somewhere else, that you are here and it is there, and the gap between you must be closed by effort. Every act of pushing reinforces the distance. It encodes the separation, and the longer you push, the more deeply that gap becomes part of how you relate to the thing you want. You do not feel like someone who has it. You feel like someone who is trying to get it. And that feeling, that precise internal frequency, is what the universe is actually responding to. This is not mysticism. Stay with me. Every state you occupy has a frequency, not metaphorically. The electrical activity in your brain, the chemical state of your body, the pattern of your attention, all of it is measurable. All of it oscillates. All of it broadcasts. And what it broadcasts is not your words or your intentions or your goals written on a whiteboard. It broadcasts your actual internal state, the frequency you are genuinely operating at, not the frequency you think you are operating at, not the frequency you are trying to project, the real one, the one underneath. And here is the uncomfortable part. Most people who want something badly are broadcasting the frequency of want. Not the frequency of having, not the frequency of being the kind of person for whom that thing is natural and available. The frequency of wanting, of lacking, of not yet. And the universe, like any system that responds to frequency, sends back more of what is being broadcast. More wanting, more not yet. More of the precise internal experience that has been running on repeat for years. This is why some people seem to attract things effortlessly, while others spend decades in pursuit of the same things without closing the distance. It is not luck. It is not talent. It is not even strategy. It is frequency. The person who seems to attract effortlessly is not pushing less because they are lazy. They are not pushing less because they do not care. They are operating at a different internal frequency, one that matches what they are after, rather than one that confirms the distance to it. Now here is where it gets precise, because understanding this is one thing. Changing your operating frequency is something else entirely. And most of what gets offered as advice on this topic is useless because it targets the surface. Visualize more. Think positive. Affirm your goals. All of these tools aim at the symptom rather than the system. You cannot change your broadcast frequency by changing your words. You change it by changing what is actually running underneath the words. What is running underneath? For most people, a very old and very stable set of beliefs about what they are and what they are capable of and what is available to them. These beliefs were not chosen. They were installed. By early experience, by repeated feedback, by the accumulated weight of every moment in which reality confirmed a particular story about who you are, and they run constantly beneath every intention and every effort and every positive thought, broadcasting their own frequency with far more power than any conscious goal ever could. Think of it this way. You are trying to tune a radio to a new frequency by taping a label over the display. The label says the new frequency, but the dial underneath is still set to the old one. The broadcast has not changed. Only the label has, and the universe, which reads the actual signal rather than the label, keeps sending back what the actual signal is calling for. This is the problem with most approaches to getting what you want. They work on the label, they leave the dial untouched, and so years pass, and intentions are stated, and goals are set, and affirmations are repeated, and nothing fundamental shifts because nothing fundamental has been changed. The frequency is the same, the results are the same, the distance remains. So what does it actually mean to change your frequency? It does not mean pretending you already have what you want. It does not mean performing confidence you do not feel or manufacturing emotions that are not real. The system sees through performance immediately. What it means is something more specific and more difficult. It means finding and dissolving the beliefs that are generating the old frequency, the ones that insist on the gap, the ones that confirm the distance, the ones that say things like, "This is not for people like me. This always takes longer than it should. I have to earn this. I have to prove I deserve this." Every one of those beliefs is a dial setting, and every dial setting produces a broadcast, and every broadcast produces a return. Here is a thought experiment. Imagine someone who already has the thing you want. Not as a fantasy, as a genuine investigation. What does their internal state actually feel like? Not how they present on the outside. What is the actual texture of their relationship with the thing they have? Almost certainly, it does not feel like striving. It does not feel like pushing. It feels like something much quieter, like belonging, like this is simply part of the landscape of their life. Like, of course, not earned through struggle in this moment, just present, natural, available. Now notice the gap between that frequency and the one you are actually running when you think about what you want. Notice how different the internal texture is. The striving version feels like effort, like reaching, like urgency. The resonance version feels like ease, like gravity, like things finding their natural level. And here is what matters. The universe does not care which version you prefer. It responds to which version you are actually broadcasting. Wait, because this is the part most people misunderstand. Resonance does not mean passivity. It does not mean sitting still and waiting for things to arrive. The tuning fork that resonates still vibrates. It is intensely active, but its activity is aligned with what it is calling toward rather than in opposition to it. The action that comes from resonance is different in quality from the action that comes from force. It has direction without desperation. It has energy without anxiety. It moves toward rather than pushing against. And the results it produces are qualitatively different, not just in what they achieve, but in the experience of achieving them. The people who build remarkable things with apparent ease are not doing less. They are doing differently. Their action is aligned with their frequency rather than compensating for a misaligned one. And this alignment is not an accident of personality. It is not a gift some people are born with. It is a calibration that can be done deliberately by anyone willing to do the actual work of finding the old dial settings and changing them rather than taping new labels over them. Here is what that work looks like in practice. It starts with honest observation, not judgment, observation. When you think about what you want, what is the actual quality of the internal experience? Is it light or heavy? Does it feel natural or does it feel like a stretch? Does it feel like yours or does it feel like something you are trying to become eligible for? These qualities are not just feelings. They are frequency readings. They tell you exactly where the dial is actually set. And once you know where the dial is set, you can begin the work of moving it. That work is not done by forcing the feeling to change. It is done by examining what is producing the old feeling, the specific beliefs, the specific stories, the specific early decisions about what is and is not available to you. Each one examined honestly. Each one tested against reality rather than taken as given. Each one, when found to be false or obsolete, gently released. Not replaced with a positive thought. Released. Because the space left by a dissolved old belief is not empty. It naturally fills with something closer to the truth. And the truth, in almost every case, is that the distance you have been experiencing is not real. It is a frequency artifact, a broadcast misalignment, a dial set to the wrong station decades ago by circumstances that no longer exist. The universe has been responding correctly the entire time. It has been sending back exactly what has been broadcast. The problem was never what the universe was doing. The problem was the frequency. And the frequency can be changed. Not overnight, not by wishing, but by the slow, honest, genuinely difficult work of finding where the old settings live and moving the dial, 1 degree at a time, until the broadcast and the desired return are finally actually in resonance. And when that happens, you will notice something strange. Things will begin to arrive that you were not pushing for. Doors will open that you were not forcing. Connections will form that you did not engineer. Not because the universe suddenly became generous, because the frequency finally matched, because what was being broadcast and what was being called for were finally the same thing. And between two things at the same frequency, energy flows without resistance. That is not magic. That is physics. And it has been true the entire time. If this shifted something, put it in the comments. Not what you want, what frequency you think you have actually been broadcasting. That is the more honest question. And if you want to keep going deeper into how energy and attention actually work, the next one is already there.